What's up, everybody? It's a 60-day check-in since I finished building the AOS UL7 right here. This thing has been amazing. I finished this thing, mid-July, flew it through August and September. Obviously, amazing month. So we're going to cover some of the stuff that I didn't get to in my build log. Obviously, I've flown it for 60 days. This thing really does fly amazing. It's so light. It's such a floater. You're getting some amazing range. But I'm going to go through some different things. First off, I want to start talking about some weights. How much does this weigh? How much does it weigh with what battery? Because I got a few different 18-650s and 21-7s. And I could use them in 1P or 2P, or I'm about to build a 2P dedicated only battery. I'm also testing out tri-blades versus bi-blades and which one's gonna give me good flight time. So let's get right into it. So let's kick this party off with a weigh-in here in the blue corner, the AOS U7. Okay, so this is everything that you saw in the build log. Then I had tri-blades, now I have bi-blades. We'll take a look at what the weight difference is there. And the only other things that I've added since then is a little, I don't know, a grommet or a gasket, a 3D print back here for this. And then I have just a piece of tape on the front. But typically what I have up here is a name tag, just in case the drone crashes. So it's got contact information because I'm not using a GoPro. So the drone itself right now with all the battery straps, things I'm just gonna normally keep it 636 grams right there. Okay, here is one of my two 18-650s. Okay, this is a 2800 milliamp, and that comes in at 945. If I was going to use a 21-700, 1076. Okay, and then if I wanted to fly 2P, so I've got these 18-650s. I have two of them that are exactly the same. These are the P28Bs. The Molicells, they are 2.8 amp hours, like I just said. So if we put the two of them on there, sorry, this is in the way. Let me stand this up. So we're looking at 1257. It's progressively getting heavier. If I wanted to do two 21-700 packs, I could do that as well over here. 1528. And then if I wanted to do something kind of hybrid in the middle, like maybe I want a light, an 18-650, but I want a 21-700, right? Because you can connect them in parallel. Why not? They're the same size, right? We could do that. 1386, so it's a nice little compromise. And then eventually I'm building this one out right here, which is going to be a dedicated 2P battery. These are the P45Bs. We'll talk about that in a second. Okay, so those are some of the weights right there. And then if we're looking at prop weight difference, I have a few different bi-blades sets that I'm trying. So this is 26 grams right here versus the tri-blades I originally had is, what is that? 36, so a 10 gram difference if you lose some blades all the way around. So since we started off with weights and we were just talking batteries, let's carry on there before we transition to the next thing. So flight times, I'm getting pretty much 8 minutes easy on an 18-650, easily breaking 10 to 12 with the 21-700s. Now most of the flying I did, fortunately, just happened to be really good weather days where the winds are 5 to 10, sometimes 50, but I haven't had any bad days yet, which I want to test where it's like 10 to 20 mile an hour winds. So I can actually see what that type of flight time is going to be in more inclement weather, because one day I'm going to want to go mountain surfing in the Swiss Alps somewhere, and I want to know what that is. Okay, so as far as these, the 18-650s, right, they're going to usually have less capacity than a 21-700. So I went with the Molicell P28Bs because they were a steal. Yeah, they've got 40 amp. Consistently, yeah, and it's 2 amp hours, so, or 2800 milliamps. Okay, so these work pretty good all the way down to 3.1 volts, and they start to shelf off real quick, like around 3.15 actually. So when I was testing this, obviously I can only fly over water because I live in a coastal area, so I do need to stay close when I'm doing my range testing. But if you happen to use these as a single pack alone, I would make sure that you're pretty close or you're not fighting a headwind or anything once you start to hit that 3.1 range, because they will start to tank real quick. So good to know there. But having two of these in parallel, right, you definitely can double your capacity, you double your time, right? You get some really good flight times, double the amps, all of that great stuff. Now between the Samsung 40Ts, which are 35 amp rated and 4 amp hours, versus these Molicell P42As, which are 45 amps and 4.2 amp hours. Of course, I'm going to get a little more flight time out of this because of the capacity, and it has a higher headroom due to the amps. But typically when I'm flying, I'm not really pulling more than 25 amps consistently unless I'm really pushing it. But you could definitely do some flips, some rolls right off of the bat. Maybe a power loop if it's a real small quick one right off of the bat, but I definitely wouldn't be doing it towards the end. But aside from that, if you want to fly pretty quick, yeah, I'm flying at least 30 miles an hour. Typically, I can push it up to 50 miles consistently if the weather conditions are good. If there's a strong headwind, obviously you got to factor that in. It's going to pull you back down. But both of these have performed well. They all kind of come back a little bit hot or warm, but nothing I'm afraid of, which is why I'm also working on a dedicated 2P pack so that I can fly a little bit further and push a little bit harder. But I have no issues combining all of these in parallel, right, if I want to push that range. Now, the range, at least 4 miles in most conditions. Okay, so I'm pulling some laps like this, and I still have more to boot. So really the question, and that's always the scariest, is how far can you fly in one direction and know that you're going to be able to make it back, especially if there's a headwind. 2 miles for sure. Okay, so I need a little more like ground area that I could fly 3 miles straight and not worry. But like I said, I'm coastal, so it's all water, and I have to be careful where I go and fly so that I know that if I need a ditch, I can do that. But as far as batteries are concerned, I build my own. You should build your own. It's a lot cheaper, it's easier, it's faster, it's quicker, right? You can put that extra bucks right back into the drone itself here. So now as far as props, I started off with a single set of tri-blades right here. I think these are like a Jim Pham polycarbon something or other. The link is down below. You can check them out. These have been flying great, and they're really nice and stiff. No issues with any of these, okay? So I've got a few different sets because they were real cheap. Yeah, so I'm going to try these bi-blades over here. These are 4.5 pitch. These ones are a 5.5 pitch. So I want to see between these 3 bi-blades right here, which one offers more efficiency. Now, flying these 2 blades over the tri-blades, yes, I did improve my time by about 20 to 30 seconds. Testing is not done yet, so stay tuned for that video, right? Because I need to do more comparisons. So typically when I compare these bi-blades or the tri-blades, I'm using my 18650 packs because they're the exact same cells. Fly 1 pack here, fly 1 pack here on the exact same day, back to back, compare the notes. So now I need to do that with these bi-blades, or this is these bi-blades, and these bi-blades versus these ones over here, and then we can see where the numbers stack up and see how much more efficiency I'm getting out of which one, because I don't know, right? Everybody just says there's some technical data, but like, what does that really mean? Is it 10% increase? Is it 20%? Am I only going to get 15 to 20 seconds of flight time more versus this one or the other, or would I rather have the thrust of the tri-blades and call it a day and be good? Now let's talk about the drone as a whole. Since I've built it, since I've been flying it, what I love about it, what I hate about it. There's not much that I hate about it at all. This thing is super lightweight. It's a floater. It can do freestyle. I do have some issues to work out where it has a little bit of a bobble. If I'm doing some freestyle and I front flip or back flip, it kind of flips and it goes like woo, like this. I don't know. You don't see it when it's stabilized, but yeah, I definitely see it obviously in the goggles here. As I mentioned in the original video though, if you plan on using the antennas here in the mounts, hard mounted the way it's designed to be meant to be used, right? If you're using 18650s, you can lay those flat and it will fit between the antennas instead of having to stack it vertically like so. But if you're using the 21700s, there is not enough space between the antennas to lay this one flat, so you do need to use it and stack it vertically. So you want to make sure that your battery straps that you have are going to be long enough to get around this and offer you enough extra grip. So I would say get like, I think I have 350s and a 450s. You'll have to look, whatever the longest one is down in the link below, I'm sorry, okay? So that you can make it around. It's the best of both worlds. I also recommend making sure you have some type of grip or battery pad. So I got the Umagod Lite, which is really nice and it's just enough. When you're flying 1 pack, this thing doesn't really slip and you can get 2 straps over it. But when you're flying 2 packs, back to back, you're only going to be able to get 1 strap on one and maybe a strap and a half on the other. So you're going to have to decide, but you don't want it sliding forwards and backwards, okay? So something to think about when you do this. And the other thing, I don't know if I mentioned this in the original video, but back here, right, where it says AOS, I ended up cutting out the S part of it and I made a little gasket in here that's in my 3D print download master pack, which you can find on Thingiverse, right? And that fits in here perfectly. And I made that gasket so it didn't grind into the power lead right here. But this amount of power lead is perfect for this. Aside from that, the M10 GPS, fantastic. It gets locks fast. I do have a GPS backpack or a GPS mate, so it pre-powers it so it can get a lock faster. But even with that, when I test it, it's getting a lock within 90 seconds on a cold start, which is great. As far as the O3 air unit, This thing has been amazing. It's the only camera I'm using. I recently got some ND filters from Newer, which I'm testing out right now. Another video coming for that. Those ones kind of twist lock onto the front of the camera instead of it being magnetic, because I've seen a bunch of complaints from people saying that the magnetics really are not that magnetic and they're afraid that the filter is going to fall off. So these ones do go on nice and snug. I'm going to be testing that and showing some footage as far as what it's like to have an ND filter on, but obviously it brings the light down. You can get closer to that 180 roll, right? Footage looks a little more contrasty, things of that nature. So overall, I am very happy, very happy. This is my first 7-inch, so how can I not be happy? I don't have anything else to compare it to, but I love it. It's super light. It's a total floater, right? Very confident flying longer distances on a single battery than I am on my 5-inch Nazgul. But the Nazgul, obviously it's smaller, it travels easier, so I'm still gonna be using that for long range, depending on where I'm going. But there's a lot more to do and to test and to play, and I'm excited for winter and worse weather, so I can really push this thing and see how it does in those higher winds, crappy wind days, so that hopefully one day if I'm out somewhere where it's breezy on the coast, or it's wintertime, or I'm mountain surfing, you know, I'm gonna be able to do that. So that's pretty much it, right? So if you have any questions, let me know. If you're new, like, subscribe, smash all of that other crap that I'm really not good at promoting. But if you're thinking about building an AOS 7 ultralight, highly recommend. 10 out of 10, would do again. All in all, this cost me right around $600-ish. I got a really good deal on the 03 Air unit. All I'm using is the Speedy Bee F405 version 3, which is only $60, so that helped with some of the savings right there. And if you're flying long range, right, you don't need a high output type of unit right here. So overall, like I said, it's amazing. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you in another video.